I'm Logan Richards, and this is my sister.
And I'm Kaylin Richards.
And this is Placebo. And today, Kaylin's going to teach me about...
I'm going to teach you about how bacteria in your intestines can affect your thinking and how your brain works.
Okay.
Super creepy.
I'm excited.
Okay. Basically, the question that I kind of came up with to start with is it possible that the bacteria in your gut affects how you think?
Now, did you come up with that question?
I saw some articles about it, and I made that question
You
up.
thought it was
I
interesting.
wrote that question down.
Okay.
Okay. So, basically, the short answer to that question is yes. Definitely they can. And in lots of different ways. So, I kind of want to start with some background information about bacteria and how that works in your colon specifically, because that's what we're looking at.
What's your colon?
Large intestine.
Okay, your large intestine.
Yes. It's a lot harder for people to study the small intestine because it's a different bacterial population. And they study the large intestine by studying poop. And it's harder to get the stuff in the small intestine.
Yeah.
It's higher up.
That makes sense.
So, first of all, I think it's pretty common knowledge that you have good bacteria in your colon that help you digest food.
Everyone's heard of probiotics.
Probiotics. You see commercials for yogurts and stuff like that.
Yep.
You don't see any yogurt
commercials.
No
buzz marketing. Remember?
I didn't say a kind of yogurt.
Okay.
I think that, I don't know if it's just me and the websites that I'm looking at, but I keep seeing a lot of articles about fermented foods lately, like sauerkraut is so good for you. Do you see things like that, or is that just me?
Apparently that's what Google thinks you want.
Okay, well, there's a lot of articles about that lately that I've been seeing.
Okay.
Have some, what is it, kefir?
Oh yeah, is that that's like yogurt,
It's
right?
like a thinner yogurt that you can drink.
I've had that before.
Okay. So those are foods that are probiotic because they have these good bacteria in them.
Okay, so a probiotic is good bacteria.
So pro is something that's for life, biotic.
Okay.
Okay. So, what do you think, though? I mean, we kind of touched on it already. What do you think the reason that most people would, eat yogurt or take a probiotic supplement? That's another thing. Why do you think they're doing that?
For, to keep things regular,
yes.
as they say.
I think that's what I put in quotes in my notes. Yes, I think that's why most people take it, to kind of help with digestive symptoms, which makes sense because it's something that you eat and it's going into your digestive system.
And maybe people also will just think in general it's healthier to have things with probiotics in them.
If they don't sounds healthy, doesn't it?
Yeah, sounds like something your body needs.
Yes. So, there are a lot of studies coming out now, though, that are looking at, and I mean, they do help with those things. That's why people do them, and they do help. But there are a lot of studies coming out now that say that the bacteria in your gut and your colon can really change the way that you think and perceive the world.
Interesting.
So, another way you might hear this referred to as the gut-brain axis.
Ooh, cool.
Fun term. So, this is pretty new research. Like the very earliest articles that I'm finding about this are from 2004, I think, and then on.
Okay.
So it's not been researched for a long time. So before we start talking about the ways that your thinking can be affected, I want to kind of talk about the mechanism, how does this even happen? Why would something like bacteria that live in your intestine affect your brain at all?
Okay. I will speculate.
So what do you think? Yeah.
I think that there are nerves that are connected.
There are some nerves.
That go from your brain to your intestine.
Do you remember what specific nerve?
Well, I know the vagus nerve is big, right?
So the vagus nerve
But I know there's also a mesenteric nerve.
Yes, but I don't think the importance of the vagus nerve, and that's why they think it is one of the main mechanisms, is because it's one of the cranial nerves.
Right, 10.
So tell me about the cranial nerves. What do you remember?
The cranial nerves are nerves that do not come off from the spinal cord. They come off from the brain, but mostly the brain stem, I think, is where most of them are. So
it's a very quick pathway because it's bypassing the spinal cord, which in our time scale, everything is very quick in how it moves around the body, but it is quicker to go on a cranial nerve versus into the spinal cord and then up to the brain.
Right.
Okay. So they definitely think that is, initially people thought that things come from the brain down the vagus nerve to the intestine to say, okay, digest food now, whatever.
Okay.
But what they're saying now is that the bacteria living down there produce actually neurotransmitters as some of their
byproducts,
but maybe on-purpose products.
Okay. Products.
Yeah. And they travel back up the other way up the vagus nerve, sending information up to the brain.
Because nerves go both ways.
That is one way they think that this happens. However, in some like studies that they do with mice, poor mice, they're all with mice.
It's always mice.
They have like cut the vagus nerve in the mouse, and then sometimes the probiotic effect doesn't work, but sometimes it does. And so they thought, well, there must be some other mechanism. Okay. Do you know what that might be? Do you have any other ideas?
Well, it's probably another nerve area, I would think.
It's not.
It's not more.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to go bloodstream. They put something in the blood.
Okay. Yes, it is bloodstream.
Okay.
It's the immune system.
All right, so it's hormones, like endocrine,
So the bacteria put out probably lots of things, but the two things that the studies talked about a lot were the neurotransmitters, which affect the vagus nerve, and then metabolites, which is
waste products,
some other, chemical waste products, and those affect the immune system. And so that's another way that the whole body can be affected, including the brain.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's more indirect.
That's more indirect. It's not as quick a response, obviously.
Yeah.
So now that we've kind of talked about that a little bit, I want to talk about the ways that the thinking can be affected, now that we know kind of the mechanism that it happens.
Okay.
It's pretty creepy to me.
Wait, you still haven't told me.
Okay.
Why do we have bacteria in our gut?
Oh, okay. Well,
what do they do in general?
For us, they help us break down food and process food and get more nutritional benefit out of them. Okay. Out of what we eat. Yeah. So if we didn't have them, we would have a lot harder time processing food and getting nutrition. Okay.
So they help us digest.
Of course, it's maybe a symbiotic relationship. We have to also ask what we do for the bacteria.
But the bacteria aren't technically human.
They're not. Okay. There's a lot of them in there, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen some crazy stats about how there's more...
They used to say...
Is there stats that there's, like, more bacteria cells than human cells?
They used to think that. They used to think that there are 10 times as many bacterial cells in and on your body as human cells, because the bacteria are so much smaller, they thought. Right. But now the most recent studies think that's maybe not accurate. It's more like 1-to-1. Yeah. So... Still, that's a lot.
Still a lot of bacteria on your body and in your body.
All over the place. Okay. Okay. So that's why we as humans have the bacteria, but there's also the bacteria want to survive, and that's why they're there, right? They get something out of it too. Yes. And we'll talk maybe a little bit more about that. Okay. So one aspect that a lot of the studies have looked at is depression and anxiety. And these are studies, all the studies are in mice so far. There's no real human studies. Okay. Because this is so new, I think.
So take it as you will.
Take it with a grain of salt, I guess. Yeah. It would probably not be quite so straightforward in people.
Probably not.
Right. So there's a study that came out of University College Cork, which is in Ireland.
Oh, cool.
Yes. So they use in a lot of these studies, they use what they call clean mice.
Clean mice. What does that mean?
So they're bred and raised and kept in this environment with no microbes. Okay. So, like, the people that are caring for them wear those, like, full, like, hazmat suits, and they don't have any contact with anything that could give them bacteria, right? So that means they have no bacteria in their guts at all, or anywhere on them.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. So, they have these mice. They are clean mice, and these mice would have symptoms of depression and anxiety. The poor mice.
How do they determine that?
They have tests where they would the mice would have to go on this maze, so it's a big plus, and part of it, one side of two of the wings of the plus have walls, and two do not, and they have to go on the part without the walls to get the reward. But the anxious mice don't want to go out on the part without walls.
Oh, okay.
And depressed mice, they're just not very interactive. They don't do much. They kind of sit around.
Okay.
So, I mean...
Not an objective measure, necessarily.
It's behavioral, but... So the mice are not saying, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, but it's looking at how their behavior changes.
Okay. Versus
a mouse that's not depressed or anxious will just go on the little plus, maze and not have a problem.
Okay.
So they even found that some of these mice with the absent or abnormal microbiome, they call it, right? The bacteria in them.
Right.
Had symptoms that they said were similar to autism. So we'll get to more on that later. That's been a big topic of research with this area.
Okay.
Anyways, the mice were withdrawn, they were inactive, and then they didn't recognize other mice when they met them again. Like, they would meet their neighbor mouse, they would see them again later, and they would have no of the signs of recognition that a normal mouse would, I guess. I don't know how you can tell that a mouse recognizes its friend.
Okay.
So
apparently you can't.
Apparently you can if you're a researcher. Then they gave the mice some probiotics. I didn't write down all the species names because there were many.
Okay.
Anyway, they gave them some probiotics, some good bacteria, and their behavior changed. It went back to normal. They recognized their friends. They would have fun doing the mazes, if that's what they like. I don't know. Yeah. But they were, they were more typical behavior.
Okay.
Okay. So why do you think that this would happen? Why?
So I guess before they started off as clean, right?
Clean.
Meaning they had no bacteria in their gut.
They're more anxious.
And they didn't recognize their friends.
And so I guess maybe to rephrase the question is why do you think it would be beneficial for the bacteria in the mouse to have a mouse that's more, outgoing, that's less depressed and anxious?
Because then the bacteria can get to other mice, right?
Yes.
If they're depressed and anxious, then avoiding other mice, then the bacteria doesn't get to.
Exactly. A depressed, anxious mouse maybe doesn't have the best survival rate. It doesn't get close to other mice to spread, that it can spread its bacteria to.
Right.
So yeah, the bacteria has a evolutionary advantage to having a host that's more well-adjusted, I guess.
Okay.
So that's creepy, right? So if you think the bacteria in you can affect how you feel and how you're relating to other people because it wants to get into them too.
That is creepy.
That's kind of what they're implying.
So the bacteria that kind of survived through evolution were the ones that created
an environment.
Animals, right. Created an environment where they would have a better chance of survival.
Yes.
And the way that they did that was by making you be more friendly.
Yes.
And involved with other species.
Because if you think, people that are, if you think about like a hunter-gatherer society, if someone was not a very good part of the group, if they were, isolating themselves, they probably are not going to survive at all.
Right.
Versus someone who's really connected with the group is probably going to be a lot healthier, get more food, all that.
And then the bacteria will do better.
And then the bacteria, they don't do very, very well in a dead person.
Right.
So there's because this is talking about depression and anxiety, obviously right now a lot of people with depression and anxiety would take medications for that. But there's talk of creating, I guess, a medication using probiotics.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So they call them psychobiotics in this case.
I wonder if those would have less negative side effects than the current medications.
I would think so, because they're just bacteria in your gut
would it just be
that might already be there in other people, you know?
Super powerful yogurt, or?
Well, I don't know. I mean, they do sell probiotic pills, but I think what some of the research is talking about, that they need to study in mice, it would be a particular bacteria strain that caused their behavior to, improve, for them to be happier or whatever. A happy mouse.
Yeah.
So it probably is different in people. It's probably not the same one, and it might be a specific thing that they would need to discover.
Okay.
Or a combination of bacteria. So anyways, they're talking about creating these psychobiotics to treat mood disorders entirely, or maybe just partly with the bacteria. There's also a study, this is one of the earlier studies that was out of Japan.
Okay.
And they also used the clean mice. And so they had these clean mice without any bacteria, and they subjected them to stress, which was they put them in a narrow tube.
Oh, that is stressful.
For an hour. So yeah, that sounds stressful to me.
It's like getting an MRI.
So it is. Yeah. Which I didn't mind. I found it kind of relaxing.
Oh, well.
But maybe I'm weird.
You're not a mouse.
No. And I knew I could get out if I wanted to. So they put these mice, the clean mice, which tend to be more depressed, anxious mice, right? In this tube, they stressed them out, and then they were measuring like cortisone stress hormones in their bodies after this, and got that level. And then they had mice that they, with the normal microbiome, and they did the same thing, put them in the tube, and their stress hormone level was much lower.
Okay.
So they were still stressed, but not to the same extent.
Yeah.
And they also found that they could take a clean mouse that had been like with the high level of stress hormone, and then next time they would treat it with some bacteria. They used, I can tell you the type in this one because I wrote it down.
Okay.
Let's see. Bifidobacterium infantis, which sounds like a child.
That does sound cool.
Uh-huh. I said it sounds like a child. Infantis.
Infantis.
Or cool.
It's the young Bifidobacterium.
Yes. So anyways, they would give that to the mouse and then stress it, and then it would have the lower levels. So they found that it wasn't just, like they could treat it later in life. It wasn't like you've missed it. You were born without it, and now you can't, have these effects.
Okay.
So they thought that even in people that aren't depressed or anxious or have like a diagnosis of some mental health disorder, perhaps the probiotics might just lower stress levels in general and make you more resilient to stressful situations. Mm-hmm. So if you are in grad school, for example, maybe it would be a good time to take some probiotics.
I'm in grad school.
You are, yeah.
Sometimes I eat yogurt.
Yes. Yogurt's good for you, except for not this almond yogurt, which we have here, which is super gross.
Yeah, it's bad.
Did you see what bacteria is in
it?
it?
Yeah, do you want me to ask you right now?
Okay.
Okay, so I have L. acidophilus.
That's one of the more popular ones.
Okay, and then I have Bifidobacterium lactis.
Okay, well that's similar to the one that the mice had.
S. thermophilus. Ooh, heat-loving. S. heat-loving,
Yeah, because that's how you make yogurt. You leave it at warm temperature.
L. delbrucki. L. debrucki.
The first one, the acidophilus, that one we'll come back to at the end because that one they have done some studies with.
Okay. I can look at my other yogurts in my fridge. That'd be funny.
So I have a really creepy thing.
Okay, good.
Okay. So this is a study from McMaster University in Ontario.
Oh.
So again, they took the clean mice.
Okay.
Okay. And then they took another mouse.
Which kind of mice?
Just a mouse with some bacteria, a normal mouse.
Okay.
Okay. But they took, from those mice, they took the ones that had different personalities. So they took like a shy mouse or a more outgoing mouse.
Okay.
Or whatever, And they gave some of the clean mice bacteria from the shy mice.
Uh-huh.
And some they gave bacteria from the outgoing mice.
Yeah.
And the clean mice, their personality changed. So they took on the personality characteristics of that mouse that they had got the bacteria from.
So they didn't actually ever see the mouse
No.
that get bacteria from.
They didn't say that. But the idea is they're not hanging out with that mouse. They just have
so
the
they
bacteria.
It's not a learned behavior.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I can't say they didn't see them through the cage wall.
Yeah, or maybe they saw them with their eyes. But I meant like they're not hanging out.
No, they weren't
with
hanging
them.
out. That's not how they meant it. Yeah. They said, that basically when they got that bacteria, their personality changed to reflect, probably because that's the bacteria that mouse had, and that's how it affected its behavior.
Ooh, weird.
Which is creepy. And you think about how, I thought about how, people that have been together a really long time, their personalities are often kind of similar.
Ooh.
One of them is because they have the same microbiome after so many years of being together.
But how do you get the same microbiome?
So it's a combination of the foods that you eat, because that the foods that you eat are feeding the bacteria also. And so certain bacteria like different foods.
So if you eat a lot of sugar, then you have more sugar-loving bacteria.
Right.
Because they get more sugar.
Right. They do
better than the other ones.
Yeah, they had a study from Africa of a hunter-gatherer type tribe that is in Africa still modern day.
Okay.
And they have kind of gender-dependent roles there, like the men do hunting probably, and the women they talked about more do a lot of like gathering these tubers. So because of their different roles, they spend a lot more time eating that thing too. So the women ate a lot more tubers than the men did in their diet, and they had different bacteria based on the genders.
Oh, okay.
So tell me something about autism. Like, what are some symptoms you think of when you think of autism?
I should know this better.
Well, just do your best.
Well, autism is a spectrum,
right?
As they say.
Autism spectrum disorder, that's
right.
what they call it now.
So I think it ranges from mild kind of, I don't know what the real medical term for it is, but mild kind of antisocial behavior, probably.
So like maybe like difficulty with social skills, like difficulty relating to people a lot of the time.
Right, yeah. Okay. And then what's a more severe example?
Well, they might not, may not be nonverbal. Can happen. Some of the things you see, like repetitive behaviors, where they maybe will do the same motion over and over again, or where they're really interested in like a very specific thing. Okay. So another common symptom, though, according to some work by Paul Patterson, who has now passed away, but was a neuroscientist and developmental biologist at Caltech. Okay. He said that there are kind of wide statistics, but a lot of the people with autism spectrum disorders have GI symptoms, like difficulty with digestion, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So his study said 40 to 90%, which is quite a large range.
Okay.
But maybe still, it's because they didn't quite pin down what GI symptoms means. Yeah. But still, a lot of people have that. Okay. Okay, that have autism.
Some number, some percentage.
Some larger percentage.
That we think could be near halfway, or perhaps more.
Yeah. So Paul, he was looking at some research that said that women who have a prolonged fever while they're pregnant are up to 7 times more likely to have children with autism, like that baby would have autism.
Oh, okay.
So he thought he would study that with mice. Poor mice. So he got some lady mice and he got them pregnant. Not himself, probably. Some boy mice did that. And then he gave them the flu while they were pregnant. Oof. Or mouse flu. Jeez. So they had fever. Okay. And then they had their babies. And he did find that a lot of the babies had symptoms of autism in mice. So they did like repetitive behaviors. They had decreased social interaction and decreased communication with the other mice, which he measured by having, they say, an ultrasonic microphone, because you can't hear all their squeaks otherwise. So they were squeaking a lot less to the other mice. Okay. And they also had the GI issues. Okay. So I think he passed away. He did pass away, so maybe he couldn't continue his research. But some other people, from Caltech, including this guy, who has an amazing name.
Okay, let's hear it.
Sarkis Masmanian.
Ooh, that is amazing.
Yeah. And he had also a doctoral student, Elaine Hissau. So they followed up on that research. And they were studying the microbiome, the bacteria in these mice's colons. Okay. These mice's.
There's mice?
Nope.
Mice is the plural of that?
Nope. These mice. Is colon? That sounds weird. That sounds wrong either way.
Mice colons.
The mice colons. And they were abnormal, basically. Okay. Right. So they found that if they gave the mice that seemed to have autism, if they gave them when they were babies or when they were adults later on in their lives, a probiotic that is known for anti-inflammatory effects. Okay. That would change their behaviors. So they would do less of the repetitive behaviors. And they would communicate more with other mice. They're squeaking more. Okay, that's good. But their social skills were still impaired.
We have to learn those.
Yeah, so maybe they'll learn when they start talking more. They just weren't talking more. Yeah. So I don't know if they found that or not, but I thought that was interesting.
Definitely.
They emphasized that, of course, this might not work the same in people, but it does seem promising. Yeah. That there might be a way to...
It never works exactly the same.
No, it never does. But it seems promising that there might be a way to change symptoms of autism anyway.
That's interesting. Autism is kind of a... I don't know what you'd call it.
What do you call it?
A contested topic these days.
Yes, so it's a hot topic.
Yeah. I was trying not to use that phrase.
Oh, well, I used it. Sorry. They said it is unlikely that this would be the cause of all people with autism's symptoms, but it could be the cause of some. So I think the theory that they're saying is that there's not probably one cause or one reason for everybody to have autism. There's probably a lot of different that's just the symptoms, and there's a lot of different ways you could end up with those symptoms.
Almost definitely true.
Right. So they thought this could be the cause for some people, or it could at least be part of the problem with some people.
Well, it's good that they said that. I feel a lot of time people miss that part, and they just take the, they just say, "Oh, probiotics cure autism," which is of course not what the researchers came.
They're saying,
they're
and they're
not their
saying,
conclusion,
right? And they're not saying that because this probiotic worked with mice, that's not going to necessarily work with people.
And definitely in mice, that means it's probably not going to work, at least not the same way.
Yeah. So, there is clearly a lot of interesting research going on. And like I said, this is a brand new area of research, maybe about 10 years old or so.
Okay.
So all the studies are in mice, and we are not mice.
No.
So that's kind of the limit to what this research can tell us right now, is that we are not mice, and these studies, these phenomenon probably do carry over to people to some extent, but we can't really know until it is studied in people.
Right.
There are a very few studies with people, though, like just one or two that I saw.
Okay.
And they're kind of mild compared to the ones they've done with mice, because obviously you can't do the things that you do to mice to people. Okay. So the one that I did see that refers back to that acidophilus, I think.
Right. L. acidophilus.
Yes.
What does the L stand for?
Lactobacillus.
Oh, okay.
Okay. They, this study with, it was all women. I'm not sure why it was all women. And they had them eat yogurt.
Yogurt.
Yeah. Or like a non-fermented milk-based product or something.
So yogurt.
So no, it was non-fermented, so it didn't have the bacteria.
Oh, okay.
That was the control. No, there was control who ate nothing, some people who ate yogurt, and some people who just had some milk or milk drink or something.
Okay.
And they showed them pictures like of people with strong facial expressions.
Like what?
You can't see that, so
I should describe it. That's good. Your neck muscles are bulging out of your neck.
It was meant to be horror.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's certainly horrifying.
So they showed, I think they said horror or disgust or something like that.
Oh, that's actually what they were trying to do.
Yeah, no, they showed them different expressions. And then they had them eat the yogurt. And then, or drink the milk or whatever.
After they saw the faces.
And then they showed them again.
Okay.
And they're measuring, it was an fMRI study, so they're looking at...
How long did they have to wait?
Oh, I don't know.
Probably a little while, though.
So they don't eat anything. They see the picture, they're in the fMRI.
Yeah.
They see that I don't remember exactly what structures they were looking at. They see some structures are lighting up, they're stressed out because they see this angry person, this upset person.
Okay.
Then later on, they have some yogurt or they have some milk, and they do the same thing.
Okay.
And the people that had the yogurt were less stressed out than they had been before.
Interesting.
And then the people that had the milk were nothing.
Well, you said that earlier. They found in mice that the mice were less stressed, right?
Right.
Less cortisol.
I mean, they didn't get stuck in a tube. They just saw some pictures.
Yeah.
So it's a little less exciting, I guess. But
yeah.
But it is kind of the same result-ish.
Sort of.
Yeah. With yogurt, with
and the yogurt only had the L. acidophilus in it.
It had one other one, I think, but that's the one I recognized.
Okay.
I don't remember the other one. I mean, if you have depression, I would not recommend going and taking probiotics now. I'd recommend doing other things. Go talk to your doctor.
Right.
But in the future, that might be what they do recommend.
Right.
We'll see what happens.
Very interesting.
Yes. Some other interesting points.
Okay.
Random trivia facts that I found.
Okay.
So, a couple quotes, I guess, from some of the articles that I thought were a little bit eye-catching.
Eye-catching. Ear-catching.
Yeah,
this is radio.
Ear-catching. So, one just little quote, and we'll have all the articles sourced so you can look them up if you want. But
right.
Maybe humans are just a vehicle for the 100 trillion microorganisms living inside of us. That's what one article said, and I thought, that's just creepy and
fairly
great.
Depressing.
Yeah, because basically they're saying that we are the host. They are manipulating us to behave in ways that are beneficial for them.
Right.
Which is kind of true.
Super creepy.
Seems like. There were also some studies that talked about how the bacteria will make you crave the foods that they like.
Ooh.
So,
yeah, that's like the sugar thing.
Like the sugar,
I've
right.
heard about that before.
So sugar cravings are, the studies suggest, due in part to the bacteria producing things that make you crave more sugar.
That's weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have those particular bacteria, or if you didn't have as many of them, you maybe wouldn't like sugar as much.
I've heard about that before and then wondered if that was true. And it seems to make sense that if you're feeding your bacteria a bunch of sugar, and then the ones that like sugar...
They'll do really well.
Yeah. And then that will increase their want for more sugar, because then I have a bigger population, and then you're going to want more sugar.
And what I found, because I, for a while, stopped eating all sugar, and what I found, and I think a lot of people say also is the case for them, is when you first stop, you want sugar so bad.
Yeah.
You want everything with sugar in it. But then after a while, you don't really... think about it or want it anymore. And then when you do have things that are really sugary, they just seem kind of gross.
Ooh.
So I wonder if that's partly the I mean, I think it's your taste buds a little bit too. You get adjusted to different things, but I don't know.
Okay.
Another thing. So this isn't a quote, but there is also some evidence that treatment with probiotics can improve cognitive performance.
Ooh, like what?
So, like improve memory.
Okay.
So this is also with mice, so don't get too excited. But like they did better on mice memory tasks, which I don't know what they are.
Okay.
So they talked a little bit how that the research would be focused on how to help people with dementia, like Alzheimer's, because if that could help or prevent Alzheimer's, that would be amazing.
Right.
Yeah. One of the studies that I read, Gut Microbes and the Brain.
Okay. Solid title.
Yeah. It said, it is difficult to predict the trajectory of this exciting period of discovery. This is from a year and a half ago, so it's pretty recent. Basically, they're saying, will further research into the gut microbiome have paradigm-transforming insights?
Whew.
Or will it have an incremental step in understanding the inner workings of the brain? So they're not really sure. The next few years of research hold the potential of uncovering intriguing connections between gut bacteria and neurological conditions that may possibly impact human health. They're not going to go out on a limb.
A lot of vague statements there.
Might be good, might be not. I think it seems really promising and interesting. So,
yeah, definitely interesting.
Because, like we talked about, I think that if it could be a viable way to treat mental illness with much less cost, probably, and much less side effects than a lot of the drugs used now, that would be amazing for people.
Yeah.
So, that's what I have. What do you think?
Okay. Well, that's great. I think that...
Ooh, I forgot the best part. So, if this information has piqued your interest and you want to learn more about your own microbiome, you can.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. So, there is a website called American Gut.
American Gut. Should I go to it?
Well, I can tell you about it here, so you don't need to read it right now. There's also another gut one for people that live elsewhere. I think they call it British Gut, and you can use that if you are in the UK or in Europe.
Okay.
I think the American Gut welcomes submissions from people elsewhere in the world, but it's a little bit harder to get it in. So the website is humanfoodproject.com/American Gut.
All right.
And basically, from what I can tell, is you do have to pay money. You pay $99.
Okay.
And they send you a kit. And then you send back your submission, which I believe is poop. But it says they also are interested in studying microbes in other areas. So possibly, where did they say?
I like how you
from
call
your
it
mouth?
Submission.
Yeah, well, that's what they call it. International participants welcome, by the way.
Okay.
So you can send in your own, mouth, gut, or skin. That's where they want people to send things from.
Okay.
And then you can also, if you have a dog and you want to know what their microbiome is, they're interested in dogs' information too.
Oh, wow.
So you can send that in. And they are collecting information with a lot of kind of what sort of diet do you eat? What are your health issues? All about your lifestyle. And then they're making this huge kind of database. And so you can see your information, your microbiome, and how it compares with other people, with what their diet is, with what their activity levels are, where they live with. So it's more of a compendium of information
Okay.
But it might be interesting. And like, do you have mental health issues? And you can see what the microbiome is. And then,
right. Ooh.
So they have had some famous people, semi-famous people submit their poop.
Okay.
So Michael Pollan, do you know who that is?
Well, I know he's a author.
He's an author. He's a food writer.
Okay.
Something like that. And do you know who Dean Karnazes?
Dean Karnazes. He's an ultra runner.
Yeah, he's done it. You could check into his information.
Oh.
Actually, I don't think you can...
These are all public?
No, it's not public. It's all de-identified. So don't worry if you want to send it in. It's not going to be identified as you to other people. You will know your own, but other people won't.
Okay.
Also, Shannon Ford, I don't know who that is, but it says that she's Mrs. United States 2011.
Oh.
I didn't know there was a Mrs. I thought it was just Miss.
Not even sure what that means.
I don't know. She's a gluten-free eater.
Okay.
Also. You can look at theirs. Those are public.
Oh, I'm going to find it.
So, I just thought that was super interesting. You are helping with citizen-funded science, and you can find out some interesting information about yourself.
That's pretty awesome. So what's this project funded by?
It's funded by the people that pay $99.
Oh, really?
I think
so who are the scientists that work for it?
Okay. The senior scientist on the project is Dr. Rob Knight. He's a microbiome researcher. He's got research in a lot of famous journals. And I think he's doing this privately through his own, night lab, it's called.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I recommend checking out more about the American gut from humanfoodproject.com.
I said the carnivore's dilemma, but I don't think that's it.
Omnivores. It's omnivore's dilemma. I just remembered. Okay, so let's wrap it up.
All right, well, that was it. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that we need to continue to learn about how the microbiome affects your thoughts and your feelings and your behaviors.
So strange.
And as we pointed out, there's a lot of research that needs to be done, and we really don't know if any of the research that has been done is the same, will bring those same findings to humans, right?
Right.
Most of it's in mice. But,
most of it's in mice so far, but you can be part of the research.
But if you're interested in this, there's so many, it looks like there's a ton of both outlets for you to contribute to the research, but also there's a lot of things that you can read and areas that you can continue to learn.
Yes.
Both books and the articles that we've read and more.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
And join us next week.
Goodbye. We need a better sign up than that, but
that's all we got.